go. There's been a lot that has been happening. What did we think? Or how far did he get, Paola?
I almost finished chapter 12, but I didn't. I had a little bit left.
I haven't really read any of chapter 12, just the first.
Okay. I honestly can't tell you what happened in chapter 12 because a lot of things happen in every chapter. I'm like, what the?
We didn't
Um,
have a meeting last week, so
Oh yes,
yeah.
like section.
talk about like Blanca leaving the guy for the erotic hotel.
Oh yeah, he was like a creep, right? Like he had like a weird sex closet or room, and I was like, ah,
And all the servants were like,
in on it. I'm like, no wonder they were giving her like weird attitude.
Or like they're laughing on the side. For
yeah.
me, the clue when he was like, "Oh no, like it's okay. I don't need it." I was like, "He's getting it from somewhere else." And then when they were, I think she mentioned something about noises. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, it's what's his name?"
Yeah,
Oh, yes, you thought it was like the ghost or something.
Yeah.
that was gnarly.
Oh
He
man.
was definitely like I would say a gold digger at the very least. Very problematic.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then,
at first I thought he was just gay, but
yeah.
then I don't even know if he was really even gay. He was probably like more like into S&M. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And I kept feeling like he was shady because this author does this thing where like she alludes to things in the future. And at one point she like said about him like something like he almost thought he wouldn't be able to do his scheme or whatever. And so I was just like, what? Like, oh, what's his deal?
Yeah.
Um, but then I kind of forgot about it for a second, but then I was like, ah,
Yeah, she's good at weaving in those clues where it's like you hear it and you don't think much of it when you read it, but then later you're like, oh yeah, that was mentioned.
Or I tell myself I'm gonna remember, and I was like, I'm gonna remember, and then I
Hmm.
don't. Like, Miguel showing up later in the story, and it's like Amanda and Miguel, and I remembered. I was like, I'm gonna remember their names, and I totally forgot until they mentioned Amanda, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah, no,
yeah.
I totally forgot about Amanda and her baby, and but I got confused because I thought she had an abortion, and that part was like really gnarly too, and I was like, oh my gosh, like this is a lot. And then later, her baby and Alba are
not her baby, her
are like
brother.
Her brother.
her brother. Okay, no wonder I got hella confused. I was like, I thought like her baby had survived, and that was
Yeah.
Miguel, and then that they like him and Alba were like doing it. I was like, that is incest between cousins because I
No, there's
didn't get.
only an incest between an uncle and a niece, just like 100 Years of Solitude again, but just
Yeah, no, okay, thank you for clarifying
well,
that.
implied,
I was
just
listening
an
to the
uncle
plastic
lusting after a niece.
kind of in a rush, and I was like, oh, was she doing it with her cousin? Oh my gosh.
At
I
least Jaime realizes that what he feels is wrong, at least so far.
Yeah, and that part was creepy too, where he was like, he doesn't want to be the father or the uncle, and I was like, ah,
Yeah.
too
I
crazy.
think he's repressed himself so much that he can't have like normal relationships.
Yeah, I was not expecting Amanda to come back out to into the picture in the last chapter, so I was like, oh damn.
Yeah.
And how they're basically in a relationship, but now he doesn't like her. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh,
And then
messy.
the whole government situation too. I'm like, this is so intense. It was reminding me of like what's kind of happening right now in terms of just like how polarized things are. But then even though this is a work of fiction, it's like that's what really happened in Latin America. And there's so many other books that allude to that too, like in the time of the butterflies. I think that might be by Isabel Allende, I can't remember. Look it up. But that one really like alludes to like the dictatorship and it's just very, very intense.
Yeah, it's so interesting how the ruling class, the party of Esteban,
Mm-hmm.
is like, we must lead. Without us, everyone will be, in chaos, and this is the way things always are. But then when
Mm-hmm.
the opposition wins, they play dirty and they, you know, fix the system so that they can't succeed. So everything that they have said is all just like a lie.
And I was just thinking, because he was saying like when they would host big parties at his house in the city, like he said money was so good. And like now that he's not being generous and not having parties, like he said his money was not doing good, like the Trace Maria's losing money.
Mhm.
I'm like, it's kind of like when he was more generous, like maybe more socialist, he was doing better, but he can't see that as like political party.
Well, all of that I feel like was from Clara. Like so much. Well, I don't know. Like he's definitely a very messed up person, and the way that he takes the things that have happened to him and then chooses to live his life. And it's very toxic,
Mhm.
very messed up. And it's so crazy because of how the fact that he has political power, how now it's influencing the whole country too. But also, I thought like it's just interesting to see the different characters and like, like how Jaime and Miguel have different philosophies, which I feel like parallels a lot of like, leftist versus more like left, like more center left, maybe like that we feel in our country. Or like,
Mhm.
you see like the nuances there, which I don't always feel like that's present in like when we are talking about like different characters and stuff. So I thought that was an interesting detail that they're doing that, or even like how Alba like doesn't really actually care that much. She's just more like into Miguel and like she's just kind of like play acting, being a leftist and like
Yeah.
I thought those details were really interesting.
Like when he tells her you're not like really attuned to the cause as much, you're just kind of along for the ride, so you can't really fully join in. It makes sense because she had an experience like that same level of poverty that maybe some of the other ones have felt, or injustice.
But
And
it's
so was
interesting.
Blanca a little bit too, like how she
Mhm.
can't take Pedro Tercero seriously and she just like strings him along and
Mhm.
doesn't actually like really like is her love really that deep or not, or does she just like the attention? I don't know.
Mhm.
Yeah. And it's very ironic how like the grandpa is like so conservative, but then his like younger generations are like, hanging out with his opposition. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yes. I was gonna mention Pedro the Tercero. He was
Hmm.
the one, wasn't he the one that was trying to make some sort of revolution or some sort of situation happen earlier on that
Hmm.
Esteban was like, I don't want him around. I don't want those ideas. And yet it's like all the girls are like with these men that have those views. But I also found it interesting that Pedro Tercero, like I think towards the end of that chapter, they were saying something about they were trying to recruit everyone to kind of help out in the situation. And he was
Hmm.
kind of like, yeah. And I wonder if it's because he became famous with his music and stuff that he was kind of like, yeah, it's not a big thing anymore.
Hmm.
I don't know. I thought it was
Gave him
interesting.
some attention.
Yeah.
I think they basically said he had gotten old and like the
Oh, yeah.
fire that was in there kind of died and he just wanted to be with Blanca and like
Hmm.
have a comfortable life, but the revolution happened when he was old and then they needed him to
Hmm.
be a bureaucrat and that like sucked the life out of him and it wasn't what he actually really wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just
But yeah, that's
interesting how everything's
interesting.
so intertwined.
Yeah. What did you all think about how when Clara died, Esteban Trevo was like trying to make the fancy mausoleum and then he like got the other body of Rosa? I'm like, this is weird. And I could totally picture it because in Mexico there's like that type of mausoleum. And if you go to the cemetery, you can see like the little houses and the coffins inside. I'm like, that's so different than like how it is here in the United States. But I just felt like I feel like when someone's in their resting place, like you probably should not like disturb them. So I was getting really creeped out by that.
Well, the fact that he kind of ruined her body because she was preserved, and then he
Mhm.
like had to open it up to take a look, and then
Yeah, it was disrespectful.
and kissed her.
Gross.
Yeah, and it's like you're over here saying you love Clara, and you're over here like, oh, I'm gonna miss her, this, that, whatever.
Hmm.
And then you go and get Rosa. Like that was a thing that like didn't really happen because she died before anything, before he could even come back.
Yeah.
So I'm like, why are you so why go back to her? She's gone. She's been gone. But
And then plus her body was already abused when she died by the other creeper at the beginning. So I felt bad for her and her body. I mean, I don't know. It's just weird.
yeah. He's just a weird character.
Definitely. And then also like the sexual abuse from what was it, Esteban Garcia towards Alba, I was getting like massively freaked out by it. I was like, this is so crazy. And I hope that he gets his comeuppance towards the end of the novel.
Is
he's
it?
like Spectre. He keeps like popping up, and it's like, ugh.
Yeah. And then you think it just happened once, but then it does like a flashback, and then it's like he kissed forcibly like kissed her when she was 14. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
disgusting.
How, like, what's the age difference between Alba and him? Because I thought,
I think it's quite a bit.
Yeah, because when he went in the house and like she was like a toddler,
yeah,
he was already like maybe like
older.
18.
Like
Yeah,
an
that's what
adult,
I
I would say. Yeah.
thought.
And so
I
when she's 14, I would imagine he's probably like 30 or something.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, the dad is Esteban, so what can we say?
Mhm.
But I could not believe when they were saying that when she was young and he was waiting for Esteban
Mhm.
Trueba. I was like, this did not just happen. You guys are like basically related. What? What?
Also, they're really, yeah,
They're
basically related.
related.
That's true.
Yeah, they're related. And I was like, okay. And then it keeps happening. I'm just like, oh no, they're gonna end up. I feel like they're gonna end up together.
Oh, what if they get like forcibly married or something? That would be,
Yeah, I'm like that.
oh gosh.
I don't think it. Well, Esteban would have to be dead
That's true.
because he would never let that happen.
He would trip.
And I think he does eventually find out that that's his grandchild.
I thought he knew, but was in denial.
Oh, okay.
I think he knew, but then he like forgot because
Mhm.
I think when he came to ask for the police recommendation, like it seemed like he kind of forgot, but like knew he was from Trace Maria's.
Mhm.
Yes.
Anyone notice that Nicolas has just like not been there for a few chapters?
Yes. I kept I kept confusing because at some point they kept mentioning him and Jaime and some other guy.
Hmm.
And I was like, what's going who's who? But Nicolas and Jaime are the twins. And since they keep
Hmm.
saying Jaime and they don't say him, I'm like, did he like die? Or he completely like he was super into the astrology and the spiritual stuff. I thought he was the doctor, but
He was like the yoga guy, right?
yeah,
I
he was
remember
into
he
all this
got
like
he like his
hippie.
dad got mad at him because he was like running around naked, so he gave him money, but was like, "I don't want to see you." What did he say till Alba?
Maybe he banished him, yeah.
He said like until something.
Mm.
Until Alba's done with school or something. I don't know.
Mhm.
And yeah, he gave him enough money to like, so he just made his own little retreat thing.
That detail.
Yeah, he's funny.
Yeah, hopefully he'll come back because it was like, I don't want to see you for this amount of time. So,
Maybe he'll come out again at the end.
yeah.
Yeah, considering they're alluding to like really bad stuff coming.
Especially with all the weapons that have been hidden and stuff like that. I
Yeah.
was kind of laughing, honestly, when Esteban went back to Tres Marias and he got like taken hostage. I was like, "Ole." Like, see, mess around and find out. But I was like also ironic that he ends up getting rescued by the guy that he blew his fingers off, right? So I'm like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen next?
And he's mad
I
about it.
when Alba was trying to convince Pedro Tercero to go to Tres Marias. That's where I left off.
I think
Oh,
that's when she finds out
That
that
is it for
that
dad.
their said was her dad. Yeah,
yeah. You
poor
need to tell
Alpha.
me it's your daughter. Why didn't you
Hmm.
tell me before? I don't know why they didn't tell Alba before. I mean, she seems to have some of the powers or like Clara did.
Hmm.
I don't think the same. It doesn't seem like she can fully do all the things Clara did, but I'm like,
Hmm.
just tell her.
I don't know. Blanca seems like kind of a weird mom.
Yeah, she is.
Like Clara was weird too, but I feel like she cared for her kids. But Blanca seems kind of self-absorbed. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I think so. Yeah, I can see that. I
for
feel
sure.
like even though it might hurt, like it's better to just tell the kids, like, okay, this is your real dad, because then you find out later and you start questioning everything, you know? That's what I imagine is happening for Alba. And then I'm very curious what's going to end up happening with all the weapons they've been stashing away that Esteban supposedly stashing, but then now they're also restashing. That part was really reminding me of In the Time of the Butterflies, like the surveillance and stuff like that.
Eek.
And that was, I looked it up, it was by Julia Alvarez, not Isabel Allende, but I read it. I think I read it during the pandemic and it just like was a very unique book. But that one's more like the political unrest in the Dominican Republic versus I imagine this one, since the author I think is from Chile, I just keep imagining Chile, but there's a lot of similar situations in different Latin American countries.
I could be wrong, but I think in the movie adaptation of the book, I think they cut out everything. Like they merged Alba and Blanca into one character.
Oh
Oh,
wow.
Like I think there was an Alba, but like at the end,
Mhm.
I feel like everything happened more with Blanca and Pedro Tercero instead of like Miguel and Alba. I could
mm,
be wrong, but I feel like they mushed those together.
hmm.
Because everything with Alba, I was like, I don't remember that in the movie.
Yeah, maybe they had to like take out a generation just for having
Yeah,
combined characters. That makes sense.
I think that's what they did because there's some similarities there, so kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's some parallels, and it seems like the story's in a way repeating itself.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
When she got her period, I thought she was pregnant, but I'm like, how
I
there's no
thought
way.
she was having a miscarriage too, and I was like,
Yeah,
what is happening? And then I thought like maybe it was gonna flash back to the other guy raping her or something. So
yeah.
I was very disturbed.
I
And I
was like,
feel like because I'm listening to it in audiobook, it seems more vivid.
uh-huh.
It's the first time I think that I listened to an audiobook without like listening, I mean to a fictional audiobook without reading the text beforehand. So like when that stuff was happening, I was like, oh no, what's going on?
Yeah, I thought she was having a miscarriage. She was just like, I did not think it was her period until they said, "Oh, it's your period." But then I thought it was interesting that they kept saying, um, that she basically was getting cramps and was in pain, and the
Hmm.
blood was heavy because she was rich or something. I'm like, what? That was
Oh
one of the things I was like, hmm.
I know, that was so weird. And then I
Yeah.
thought she had to poop, but I guess it was just her period.
I
oh yeah, because of the situation with the bathrooms, I was like, is it just the bathroom? I don't know. But then when it said all the blood, I'm like, okay, yeah, no, it's something
Or
else.
like when they said that Clara had asthma and they're like, oh, they treated it with prolonged hugs. I'm like, what?
You just
And
smother them and the asthma
they
will go away.
they kept saying it and I was like, oh, okay. It's
Maybe like the warmth would help because like cold air makes it worse.
interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
Something to it.
Tell us, Dr. Jew, what's the medical basis?
I know that's all I get. But this book, it's like, how do you write a book like this? Like, is some of it like her family's story? Do you know about the author, or like, does she like this historical period?
I read
Well, I
the
looked on the Wikipedia page, but I didn't look too far because I was afraid of spoilers. Because when I first was reading, I was like, this reminds me so heavily of Scanning Los Soledad, and I think she was inspired by that. But after we finish, I'll do a deep dive. But it does remind me so much of that, especially with the politics and in Cien Años de Soledad, there's like that whole section about like the bananas and the plantation and like the unrest with the workers. So I think it's like her way of like talking about political unrest and the unfairness in the society then without like really saying like, okay, it's from this country. Because I have to do it through a story.
I could be wrong, but I think I remember reading that her family had to flee the
Oh.
country due to political difference.
Mhm.
Like I think her family was a prominent political family, like maybe in Chile, I don't remember.
Mhm.
I think they had to flee, I think.
Yeah, I imagine because I imagine like if what happened in the book happened in reality and you're like one of the rich families, it's like, hey, you have to bounce because you might get murdered, you might get all your stuff taken away, so it's better to just flee versus stay there, or vice versa also. If you're like someone advocating for justice and more fairness or a different way of living and your side
Also,
doesn't win, then you have to also get out because the opposition might just decide to take you out. Like when I read the book In the Time of the Butterflies, the reason it seemed like so crazy to me is because they like would tap phone lines, they had people spying on people, and then like just people disappearing. Even when I go to Mexico in the city, you can see posters and posters of everyone who has disappeared and no one knows where they are at. And it's very scary.
yeah, and they won't say like for the left
Mm-hmm.
president, they keep calling him the candidate, but they won't
Mm-hmm.
say his name.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if there's a reason for that too.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe it's based on a real person, but she didn't want to put his name. I don't know.
Oh, I did see that. Like, for example, when she says the poet, it's like an allusion to Pablo Neruda, but she doesn't say like who it really is. And
Mm.
like the candidate could be any like dictator or someone who took advantage of their position in the government. But of course, if you really said a name, you could get in trouble, or maybe she just kept it general tailored to anyone who abuses their power.
Yeah, because she wrote this in the 80s, early
Mhm.
80s, so maybe the dictatorship was still going on. I don't know.
Yeah, I will have to look at the history of Chile to really know, but I know it is a narrative that has been repeated in many Latin American countries, sadly, especially with the US interference as well.
Yeah, that was the gringos.
The gringos. Hmm. I read a few fiction books about like Cuba and the aftermath of like when Fidel Castro took power too, and I did see like how the people who were more wealthy like would bury their jewels in their backyard or hide it, but then eventually they just ended up going to ruin anyways. It's just interesting.
So do you think this book used to be like read in schools? Because I
I think
mean,
it's a banned book in schools. So,
yeah, 'cause it's banned, but
In Latin American schools, depending who's in power, I could see someone saying like, "We can't read this book because it's like criticizing us, basically."
Hmm.
If it really parallels what happened in Chile, which I don't know for sure yet, but also in the United States, I would imagine it would just get banned, just also due to like the sexual content and stuff
Hmm.
or the other themes.
yeah.
but like, I mean, I still think this is honestly really tame compared to some other, even just
Yeah,
like comparing this to 100 Years of Solitude. But I feel like there was way more sex in that book and way more incest in that book, and I read that in school. So,
that's true. That's a good point.
That's
This
Yeah.
one has way
This
less
book,
incest.
yeah, this book doesn't go into like the details of it. It's just kind of like,
wow. I haven't read 100 Years of Solitude, but it's been on my list for forever. And part of me, like, I'm interested because you guys are saying it's kind of like this, but then I'm not because now you're saying it's more descriptive and it's actually worse. So
It's
I'm like,
hard. For me, it was a much more difficult read. But also, if you read Love in the Time of Cholera, that one also is like talks about incest a lot. I think I read it a while ago too during the pandemic, but I think I read it right after The Time of Butterflies. But
There's more magical realism too. Like this book
Mhm.
has it, but it's pretty subtle. I feel like
mhm,
in 100 Years of Solitude, it's very much part of the whole book. But I
Mhm.
also just feel like the prose is more like poetic a little
mhm,
bit in that book. So it's kind of
Mhm.
like it's just like very uh I feel like this one is more like you're really feeling for the characters and you're like invested in that way. Whereas that one, it's more like a poem.
mhm.
Like
Mhm.
like you're drawn in by the descriptions and the I don't know. Not like you don't care about the characters with that,
Yeah,
but
it's just different.
more it's a different experience. Yeah. Like this one is a little bit more down to earth than that one. But that one's a little bit more like beautiful, I guess you could say.
Mm,
I think there's more characters in Cien Años de Soledad too, and for me, like that made it really confusing.
really hard too.
And it kind of goes back and forth in time. This one does a little bit too, but not nearly to the same effect.
Yeah, the only confusing part here was trying to figure out if Esteban was the child of Pancha or
Mhm.
the or the grandchild. And I was like, oh, but I made a little tree for myself and I was like, oh, that makes sense.
That's smart. Yeah, I think with the what was it, Pedro Tercero and Segundos, I was kind of getting a little bit confused sometimes.
Yes. And then they mentioned, oh, the first Pedro, like when he died, and I'm like,
Mhm.
what?
Like, which one is it?
Yeah.
Am I crazy or does 100 Years of Solitude have a family tree in the book? Does it? Am I
Yeah, it
like
does. I
I
think
think
I
it does.
remember.
Let me go see if I can find my copy real
read
quick.
it? Because there's like 100 characters in that book.
There's a
They
No,
all have the
really?
student, like
Oh,
they have the
crazy.
same name and like some of the same situations.
So you're like, is it this one or is it this one?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
There's like Arcadio, then Buendia, and then there's like another Arcadio, and then there's like oh Remedios.
Oh gosh. I read that too because I was in your class, but I
Yeah.
like,
Was
don't
that Boyd,
remember
Julie?
it.
Was it Boyd?
Yeah, it was Boyd.
Of course. But he loved that book.
Yeah, he loved that book.
He was kind of a hipster.
I remember not liking it, but like now that we're talking about it, like I kind of want to reread it, but I know it'll be cool.
I feel like every time you guys mention that book, it doesn't sound good.
Yeah.
So you
I
saying you want to reread it, I was like,
like
Julie.
And it's long, right?
I
it's
think
really long, a lot of characters. I did like it though. I like that one to me, I remember it. Like we read a
Mhm.
lot of books in that class and I don't remember them, but I remember that. Oh, there it is.
True.
I think that I sometimes feel bad, like if, that I feel like I have not exposed myself to magical realism as much
Mhm.
because I feel like it's part of my heritage too, in a way. But at the same time, maybe just that I had to read it in college, I'm like, okay, no, I don't like it because I have to read it. And maybe I should try again, but I just remember struggling so much, like I could still see all my tabs.
Yeah.
This is my English copy. I don't know if I still have a Spanish one, but I think because they gave us this to read and this was one of the books we had to read within the 10 weeks. And so I just felt like it was too much to read within however many weeks
Mhm.
I had. And so I ended up doing my 8-page paper and I never even read the whole thing. I had my Spanish copy and I had this English one and I just went back and forth. I read the English because I could read a little bit faster in English. And then I would find the what I needed to cite in the Spanish copy. And I'm like, okay, it is what it is. But I got an A on the essay, but I never finished like the book.
Imagine if we had like audiobooks really when we were in college, like
Imagine.
or high school. That would have
Yeah.
been.
There is a Netflix adaptation of 100 Years of
I
Solitude
saw that
right now,
coming out.
Recent,
Yeah.
but it's
right?
only part one. There's going to be part two later. I heard it's actually pretty good, and it's all like in Spanish and like local actors and everything.
That's
And it was
great.
with the blessing of like the grandchildren of Gabriel Garcia Marquez.
Wow.
So, but I haven't checked it out. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I hope
But
it's good, and I am happy because I feel like it'll be a chance for Latin American representation that isn't stereotypical. So
mhm.
I'm excited about that.
So
If you don't
that's
want to
a
read the
band.
book, you could watch the
So
TV
here's a
show.
picture of Gabriel Garcia.
Is that one banned too?
I don't
The
know.
TV show? No, it's on Netflix. You can watch.
No,
Or
I
no,
mean
that
the
book?
Yeah.
I bet. I mean, I would actually understand that being banned a lot more than this.
This one's worse. It's much worse than what we're reading right now. I remember from the
Yeah,
bed. 1967.
totally.
First published in Argentina in 1967.
Yeah, our teacher's gonna be so sad. Mr. Boyd, that was like his favorite.
Maybe I'll try reading
Yeah.
it again.
He would have never banned it though. He was very hipster. He would have been like, "I'm gonna give you a more crazy book to read."
Yeah,
Yeah,
he'd
at
give
least
us
he
extra
doesn't
credit
have
to like watch the Netflix one.
Oh,
Oh, he would have because I loved it. He would pick from Roger Ebert's 100 Great Movies and you'd write an essay on it and you'd get extra credit. So I just did that like every month. It was amazing.
Oh,
Yeah, we
nice.
did it together.
Yeah. And we watched all these like crazy foreign films together, Julie.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's nice.
And we watched 2001: A Space Odyssey, a movie I don't think you would have ever watched, Julie. other than-
Yeah. And Pulp Fiction, which has my favorite. John
Yeah.
Travolta.
Yeah.
I still have not seen Pulp Fiction, but I know I need to. My sister tells me every time I mention it.
Yeah,
Same. I
crazy.
haven't seen it, but I know it's a thing that I must watch. It's like you just have to.
Imagine watching it and getting extra credit.
I know. It's so
Aw.
good.
That's nice.
It was like the best. I loved that class.
So
He was pretentious though.
I looked it up to see if it was banned, and one high school here in California actually banned it.
Which high
Um,
school?
Wasco Union. I tried to look it up. I think it's in
Oh, but it's not universally banned?
no. I think they say it's challenged. So it's not many have actually banned it.
Maybe they didn't get through it.
Never finished the book.
They're like they didn't finish it, so they're really gnarly.
So that high school, the officials from the high school called it garbage being passed off as literature.
So bad.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a while ago. It says 1986.
I remember in college there's one Mexican author. His name is Juan Rulfo. He has short stories, but they're pretty good too. And where he was born is one town over for when I go to stay in Mexico, so it's kind of cool. There's a mural for him there. But I don't really remember many of his stories except one where it's like this dad traveling with his son, and I think the son gets tired, so he's carrying him. And then it has just like a sad ending.
Crazy.
Maybe I could try listening to Cien Años like on audiobook and see if I can get through it that way.
Well, I wonder what's gonna happen to the end of it. I think this last section is somewhat shorter.
I think it is too, yeah.
Yeah. Even on
Do we
Goodreads.
have to bring in a book?
Yeah, I think it was supposed to be this week and I forgot, and Karina messaged me, but there was this whole situation
It's
and
the holidays, yeah, and you got
yeah,
a lot going on.
there. I didn't think of a theme. But if you guys wanna if you guys have ideas for themes, I'm up
Then
for it.
next month is January, right?
January.
What goes on in January? We have New Year, Martin Luther King
An
Day,
adventure book.
um,
Action.
winter.
We could do this is probably like too broad, but it could be like a book about someone like turning over a new leaf. I don't know, like someone trying something new.
Oh, like
kind of like I
yeah.
don't know.
I was gonna say the start of something new, like the High School
Yeah.
Musical. But yeah, I think I like that because there's some books that like right from the bat tell you like, oh, this person is going through it and they move and then they start a life, so I think we could do that.
I like it. Like
Yeah.
New Year, New Me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So send the books and then we can do the little thing quick.
Sweet.
I do like this book though. It's long, but I'm enjoying it a lot.
It's very
Yeah,
good.
Yeah.
I was scared of it if I was to read it by myself. And I think I was telling Corina, I'm like, I don't know why I wanted to read the first book that this author wrote, but I've had it on my list just because I'm like, oh, it's gonna be like that magical realism, and it's not as intense as I thought. So I'm like, I shouldn't be like that and just read the book. Unless I get 100 Years of Solitude, how you guys are saying.
Yeah, I'll have to try to remember what else I read in college because I remember learning about it in college, but I think that it just seemed more boring to me because I had to read it. It wasn't like, oh, okay, I'm
Yeah,
using to read this.
there's also that. Yeah.
That was my first time experiencing it.
Well,
But I think I told Judith, but this book is going to be my 50th book for my reading goal. So I really like how it panned out that way.
Cool.
The good one. This year, I think like I've really liked the books I've read overall compared to last year. So I'm pleased with all my reading this year.
Was that your goal to get to 50?
Yeah, I've been increasing it a little bit each year. Since I'm going to start my master's soon, I don't know if I'll be able to do like 52 or something, but we'll see. I'm sure that's going to keep me busy.
Well, if you count those books.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Count
true.
it towards
I
your-
have them. I'm going to start reading a couple because I don't start till January 21st, but I'm going to try to read ahead to get prepared.
What are you studying?
I'm trying to get my master's in educational leadership and administration. So that'll set me up to like be a principal or take a position at the district office or something like that. I don't really know if I do want to be a principal. I imagine I could one day because I think it's interesting and we have a new admin now, thank goodness. But based on what I saw last year and the year before, I'm like, there needs to be a better way. And I've just wanted to get my master's in general. Like I think it's important for me to just get it and say I have it, and I want the Harry Potter cape and everything. So it's gonna be through SDSU, so I'm excited. I didn't know,
Oh,
but Katie,
nice.
Oh.
I must have known, but I forgot. But Katie actually got her credential from SDSU, so we're both gonna be like Mustangs and Aztecs, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's it.
That's so cool. Alvaro's like, he couldn't walk for his master's
I
because
know.
he had the stomach bug. And I think his cape and hood still like hanging in the garage, like
Oh,
ready to
God.
go.
That was sad. Yeah, I remember.
I know. But he can wear it when he goes to his high school's graduation. He can
Oh,
like,
nice. That's good.
because he sits on the stage and he wears that. So
No.
Yeah, I told Alvaro I'm gonna be calling you for master's advice. He's like, oh my goodness.
yeah. Skim, don't read, he'll say.
But then also,
I
Paolo, I think I told the others already, but I wanted to tell you, Rico and I got engaged over Thanksgiving week.
Oh,
I knew you went to
congratulations.
go get the ring.
You know me too well, Junebug.
Oh, that's so great. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited, but we're gonna take our time with planning and everything. So I'm gonna get my master's first, so no rush. But I wanted to tell you as well.
Thanks for telling me.
Of course,
Do you like the ring?
I do. Let me see if I can hold it closer. Judith got to see it in person.
Oh, I can send a picture.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
I
It's
have
like
it.
it's like a
I like the
twisted
cut. Emerald, is that the kind of cut it is? Like an
oval.
Oh, okay. It looked square from the thing, but now I can see it.
Yeah, it's just I think 'cause where the little prongs are at.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't really know where I think
Yeah, now I can see it better.
I don't know where to hold it.
It's really pretty.
Yeah.
I sent it through the chat so you can see.
I like the weaving on
Yeah,
it.
Rico chose it all on his own, so I was impressed. But I'll tell you the funny story. My mom comes over often and we like meal prep and stuff together at my place, and she sometimes washes dishes and she leaves her rings behind. So when I leave my rings in front of the TV here. Rico got one of my rings to like take it to the place to get my ring, but he took my mom's thumb ring by mistake. He didn't know. And when he proposed, I was like, dude, this is hella big. Like I was a size 8 and I'm a 6.5, so we had to get it resized. But and then
Better to be bigger than too small, though.
True.
that's true. And we
True.
have unlimited
There's
resizing, so it's okay. But I was like, I want to have it, and now I can't have it.
Is it weird wearing it? Like, have you been
I like
wearing
it
it?
because I like how it looks. But I have been getting used to it because I don't wear my rings every day. But now, like, because I usually do, I have like the sun and the moon ring from Pandora and a little Groot's ring from Guardians of the Galaxy. So I'm like, okay, which one do I sacrifice to wear my other hand now? I've been wearing the Groot one more, but I like it. Um, but yeah, it's dainty, so I like that because I like dainty jewelry.
Yeah, you don't want to like scratch your kids.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely not used to that. Like I think sometimes because this one kind of like protrudes more, the other ones are pretty flat. Like sometimes it gets caught on my clothes and I'm like, ah, I'm not used to it, but I do like it. And I told my coworkers and now everyone in book club knows. Um I will admit I told Julia and Alvaro before the rest of the club because I'm like they're too far. I'm not gonna be able to like tell them in
Yeah.
person because I knew I was gonna see Judith and some of the girls last weekend. But yeah,
And you told Katie.
yeah, of course. She'll not forgive me if I don't. So.
She's gonna say it's over.
We don't want to see Katie's angry side, I'll tell you.
I know. Where's Katie at?
I
I
don't
hope that
know.
she comes for our next book.
Yeah, no, I think she's just shopping. I was texting her earlier. She was with her roommate at Total Wine, but I think she's finishing shopping, she was saying. Yeah, she
Yeah,
was on break too.
I'm glad I got most of my shopping done, but I just had to do those stores today.
And what is going on with this Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni thing?
Oh
I
yeah.
Julie told me yesterday, and then I read up on it today. Like,
I don't know because like they did like she was being smeared, but I thought it was because she was being like a bee or something
Yeah.
during their press. So now it's like, was he
I'm
like,
questioning everything, and I feel sad because I thought like Justin Baldoni was a homie, and so if this comes true, I'm gonna be like, oh my God, I cannot trust anything anymore. But I don't know. I have to wait till more comes out, I guess.
and I heard like his talent agency dropped him, so I feel like
That's
it must be bad. I mean, you
Yeah.
were reading the lawsuit, but
Yeah.
like,
When I was
yeah.
reading the lawsuit, I felt like, I mean, I don't want to judge and I don't want to pick sides, but it felt part of it was like, I think maybe they were coming up with these ideas of how they wanted to go with the movie and stuff. And I feel like Blake probably took the wrong way. But then again, I'm not there and I'm not him, I'm not her. So I can't really, pick sides or say what really happened, especially because I didn't read the whole thing. I was like, this is too much.
so
And
that hella made me laugh. I saw the videos Paula sent, and I watched them all, and I was like, I was intrigued.
and then
I
all
think
the,
there's 80 pages, and I saw you were reading. I was like, Judith, vas a leer todas las 80.
yeah. So it started off very like, I think
Mhm.
it's just misunderstanding or, stuff like that. But then with the screenshots and all that stuff, and I'm like, I don't know. But then I'm like, is he doing it to, like, obviously make sure his career or whatever doesn't get ruined? Because it seemed like she was already going that way. I'm like, I don't know. I quit and I stopped reading.
I think what's telling is to me because I'm not like I would not say I would say I don't think I was really on anyone's side.
Hmm.
But like if you take the new allegations into account, it sounded like she in the end wanted to make the movie. And
Hmm.
she was like, I will come back. I want to make this movie if you agree to these things because there were things that made me uncomfortable before.
Hmm.
And she was basically, I think, in the end, that she wasn't going to release all those things because, you know, like clearly there were problems and people noticed, but I don't think she was gonna say anything.
Hmm.
But I feel like because he was so paranoid and he went and hired this firm and went on the attack, that he kind of made his own bed because
I can see that.
I feel like she would have just kept it quiet and we all would have all been speculating. But then he attacked her.
Hmm.
And then I think she was like, "No, I'm gonna go after him. I don't care."
Yeah.
So we could have all just never found out about any of this, but I think because he was like attacking and hired this group, that then Blake Lively was like, "No, I'm gonna burn it down."
Hmm.
But I do think that it is a little like I think that the allegation she brings up of what he and his co-producer did, that like that would probably make someone uncomfortable. I do think that her like trying to, I mean, apparently it was with the support of the studio that she basically had an editor make a second cut of the film, like without Justin, and that's what went out, like without him. So I'm sure that that has got to be kind of upsetting to the director to have a star come in and like make a brand new cut of your movie and
Mhm.
basically like get everybody supporting you.
But
But
I
I
thought
think what
Baldoni
happened is messed
got,
up.
I thought Baldoni's got one.
No, I heard that hers won. Hers was the one that went out, not his.
I think early on they said there was two showings or two viewings or something, and they showed his, and then I don't think it was like the final cut, and then for the final cut something happened that they ended up showing hers, and they used hers or something.
I heard the opposite, but that was a while ago.
Yeah, I think they went with hers in the end. And as a director, that's got to kind of sting, that they don't believe in your vision,
Mhm.
I
but doesn't justify you going and hiring a firm to do all that. I don't know. I think that she's also very entitled and she's probably like not the best. But if I have to like view all the evidence together, I can see why she did this and I can see why people won't want to work with him again after this.
Mhm.
and
So
that's the thing I was gonna say, like he made what a few movies or that whole, like they weren't huge movies. So I think having her be there, it's like she knows how it should be done. Like, I'm not to say that they're not professional or anything, but how it should be done in the big productions. And I feel like because their studios or their films are not very like high up there, like all the things she's been around, I think that's where it's kind of like,
There's a mismatch, maybe.
yeah. And I feel like it's kind of that where we know Baldoni, but we don't know him like Blake Lively.
Mhm.
And it's, I don't know, I think there's a lot of that that's going on. And I'm like, oh, that sucks that now it's like, well,
It's very polarized. Yeah.
yeah, but
he picked the wrong person to go after. That's all
yeah,
I gotta say.
yeah.
I don't know
Especially,
why he thought he was gonna land out on top on that. But I don't know, he probably must have been really paranoid and worried that his image was going to
yeah,
get
like Rebecca said. No, yeah, because I imagine like Lively is overall more wealthy and successful than he is. Plus, like her husband's also like an actor, so then they're. I
Mhm.
just imagine that they have more resources to like do a countersuit, then he will be the one squished.
Yeah.
Maybe rightfully so if he did something bad, but who knows?
And that's the thing too. It's like we can't say like yes, the lawsuit is there and all that stuff, but the only people who know what happened are
For them, yeah.
Blake and Justin. And like people can twist stuff around and like I saw a few people on TikTok, they're like, "Oh my gosh, I wasn't picking sides, but I really was saying this and I can't believe I got. Like I got blinded by everything that people were saying." I'm like, "That's true. We don't really know what's real and what's not real." Like
Mhm.
I was mentioning the whole like, "Oh, what cut was actually released?" For us, it's all rumors. Do we really know? We weren't really there. So,
Did we like the cut that came out? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the movie was all right.
yeah,
It's
it
okay.
wasn't bad. I don't think it was bad.
Did
And interestingly, I think both of them acted pretty good in it.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe he was like becoming Ryle, and then that's why he was being such a creep. Not an excuse at all, but I
Yeah,
wonder if that's what was going on.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I had the same thought because I think in one of the interviews or somewhere he said that he really went through like a bad place trying to be that character. And I'm like, I mean, if you're doing all the things like Ryle wasn't great, so
Yeah, no, he was
you
very
Yeah,
know,
maybe then get another director or
yeah.
don't be your star. Pick one.
Yes, yes,
That's
exactly.
true too. Like I imagine it's kind of like hard to like where do you draw the boundaries if you're acting and you're not like one of the nicer characters, but then you're also having a hand in managing the film.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's like a hard position to put yourself in, especially with the dynamics of sexual abuse,
Yeah,
and there's no intimacy coordinator.
yeah.
Like,
Oh no, I didn't know that. That's bad.
yeah, so
Um,
when Blake came back, she requested one because
I
there
thought,
was not one before.
oh, I thought there had to be one all the time.
You would think, but there apparently was not. She requested that they have one when
Oh
before
wow.
coming back to set.
No, yeah, definitely. That's good to request. I wonder
It's
if
like,
authors,
oh, you're the director and you're the abuser and
that's
you're in these
awkward.
sex scenes. It's like, ah.
No, that's yeah.
And she's postpartum. That was the other thing. She was
Yes.
postpartum too. So
Mm,
she
The
was like,
breastfeeding.
she claimed that he was like talking about her body and that she wasn't losing weight enough. And
mhm.
they came in while she was breastfeeding and like she was like dressing and they would come in her trailer like without asking.
Oh my God.
Mm,
And she
no,
and
that's okay.
apparently he was trying to add more sex scenes and she wasn't comfortable with it. And when they were kissing, he would like be biting her, and that was like not what they agreed.
Oh,
Oh God.
okay. No, that's crazy.
Yeah.
It's
So
just
yeah, I think
interesting.
if you're maybe don't like act as that and direct at the same time.
Especially just the type of movie that it was. Yeah, no, that does seem very inappropriate now that I think about it more.
If
It's
you can't
kind of
separate it, and have, I don't know. If you're gonna go method,
Yeah, and then there was a part where I guess before they had to actually do the marketing, they had already agreed on that the plan was to make it all the way Blake and everyone else was promoting it. Like
Hmm.
there was a whole like don't mention the domestic violence, make it about hope, make it about like, you know, not happy, but make it about like I don't know, being I don't know how they phrased it because there was the way I read that one document, it said what to avoid. And it said like the like a love triangle and stuff like that. And yet like the teenage Lily was like, it's about love. And I'm like, so part of me is like, I'm remembering that part and I'm like, ugh. But they
Hmm.
were trying to do what everyone else did, and they said we're not gonna do domestic violence. And then Justin went and did what they said they weren't gonna do, which in the wrong was the initial plan that they had agreed on. Like, why would he make it all, like flowers and this and that when it's like the main thing is domestic violence. So you can't avoid that and not talk about it
Yeah.
and then promote it that way, you know?
Hmm.
Oh,
yeah, like do I think Blake's philosophy was the right call? Maybe not,
yeah.
but in the end, it that's one aspect that maybe they could have disagreed on, but then there's like proper potential misconduct and shady stuff going on too. So no one is the hero, but
No.
there was definitely things that happened that were really problematic and bad.
This would be a good Am I the asshole like comment. My sister does.
Because obviously, like Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds really care about their image, but
Mhm.
clearly so did Justin. Because look what
Mhm.
he did.
Mhm.
He was very much like you're saying, Karina. Like he was like, I'm a feminist. He had
Yeah,
a
that's why I'm like so
podcast,
confused. Hmm.
so he had an image to protect too, and a lot less resources if his image was tarnished.
Yeah.
Like
Fair.
technically Blake Lively could, maybe write it out and like, she's just more powerful. She has more fans.
Hmm.
So it's a very interesting story.
Yeah, I'm sure it will continue to develop.
yeah.
I don't think we're getting a sequel. I mean, how? How are we getting a sequel?
It's
After all this.
interesting though, she waited until after the Netflix release, or I don't know if
Yeah,
she was
Maybe she
just
didn't want it to ruin. Well, but maybe it'll actually make more people watch it. I don't know. People are weird.
yeah.
Yes.
That's funny.
No.
Like the title, it ends with us. It probably will end with them.
Yeah.
I was as I was watching some of the comments, they're like, you know what? This ends with me. I'm done. Like I don't want it. And I was like, this is the best comment because I agree. Like I'm done. I don't care.
It's too
Like
much
I
drama.
mean,
Yeah.
not that I don't care, but it's also like, oh, come on, guys. I don't know.
The second book wasn't that good anyway, so it's okay.
No, but
Yeah, agree.
it is ironic that given the book's tone about like someone ending the cycle of abuse, and then the actors like perpetuate like some drama, nobody knows if somebody really was being inappropriate or not. So I feel like that's taking attention away from like what the movie and book was about too. So it is ironic in a bit of a sad way, I think. I wonder what Colleen thinks about it.
She apparently has sided with Blake.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense. Yeah.
To
Yeah.
consider her story. I saw that the all the actresses of the Sisterhood of Traveling Pants are
Mhm.
like with Blake, and I'm like, I'm not saying go against her. I'm not saying go against him. I'm just saying like let's just be out of it. You know, like it's
It
there.
ends with us.
You know, like just let's not, you know, because then other people are gonna start, yeah, 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 let's go with Blake. Yeah, 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 let's go with Justin. And I'm like, it's not our story. It's not
Yeah.
our problem, our business to get into because we got in that situation where we're like Justin, 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 or not everyone, but a lot of the media, a lot of the people on social media were like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, Blake, and here we
If I
are.
was Colleen Hoover, I'd be pissed because my book is now in the middle of something
But it wasn't.
and that like the themes of my book are now happening in the making of the movie.
That's what I'm saying. It's
Yeah.
terrible. Yeah.
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 I'd be so upset and like just like, oh God, do I want any of my other books to be made?
And the whole Verity thing now, I'm like, do I want to
Oh,
watch?
yeah. I forgot that one was coming out too, because I was gonna say for all we know, it could prevent like other studios from wanting to adopt her films if they think like, oh, it's gonna be another Justin and Blake fiasco.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Josh Hartnett, don't let us down.
But I think
Wasn't that Dakota was gonna play Lowen? Is that who she's playing? And then Josh Hartnett was gonna play the guy? Because I know Anne Hathaway was gonna play Verity.
I think so. That makes the most sense to me.
Oh, Anne Hathaway's gonna be the one
Wait,
that's
got my phone to check.
the sickly one or whatever.
Yeah, Verity.
Well, hopefully that one comes out well. Oh, sorry, Judith. I just got your text.
Okay.
I'm on vacation, but I'm like,
Yeah, Anne Hathaway is gonna be Verity and Dakota Lowen.
they seem like a really good casting.
Interesting.
And I think that one will be delightfully creepy.
Who's the director?
It better not be any of the cast.
Yeah.
Colleen on December 20th said, excited is an understatement. When was this whole lawsuit thing? Was it yesterday?
Like,
She ate
was it
it.
yesterday, Julie?
I think I
Told
saw
me
it.
yesterday.
Oh, we make her. When you came by?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what you told me. So maybe it was yesterday.
She's
But
like,
it's
I
probably
didn't know.
Friday. I'm reading this article.
I forgot what I was supposed to be looking up. And let's see.
Ew, she's saying Mr. Baldoni discussed his sex life, including encounters in which he said he may not have received consent. Mr. Heath showed him a video of his wife naked.
So
Ew.
in the lawsuit, it describes so like they were in a car and he was talking about that like back in the day he admits to not like if they said no, he wouldn't listen, and sometimes he wouldn't get consent. Like that was back then, and that was in the
Mhm.
car, and she felt uncomfortable, and I think even her driver was like, um, "Oh, I'm not gonna let you just be with him like by yourself with him or
By
something."
yourself, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, why would he say that? Like,
Hmm.
I don't know.
Oh, that's intense, yeah.
And then the whole about the wife thing. So I think they were in the lawsuit, how I took it was that they were saying that they were showing the video of how they wanted to basically do like the birth of what's her name? Of the baby, of her baby.
Her
And
making the
they were
story.
like they wanted to show more because they're like, oh no, it's just so nice and like like different people have different experiences. So he was kind of describing his wife experience, and then I think in that way he was showing the video, but then the co-producer was also showing a video to her, and I'm like, if you just go up to someone and show a video, like what the fuck are like what are you doing? You don't
Like,
do
here's
that.
a video of my
Also,
wife giving
Yeah.
birth.
Yeah.
like,
And
have they seen a Hollywood movie? Like, why would she have wanted to do that? It's not like some indie, like, it's not part of the story.
yeah.
And why would he ever think that she would do that?
Yes. So then they were describing, or it was saying that I guess they were trying to do that scene,
Hmm.
and they basically only had like how in films they only cover her part like with the little something,
Yeah.
and that the person who was going to play the OBGYN was a friend of his. So then she's feeling uncomfortable, and I think it's because she's a star, and I feel like everyone who is friends with Justin or like they're not these
Oh,
like
like maybe
actors or
she didn't feel as
professionals.
centered.
Yeah, it's making it seem
Hmm.
like, oh my God, Blake Lively, I want to be in the movie, So I was
Hmm.
like, I can see where in that section I was like, oh yeah, that would make me feel uncomfortable. Like people are just here just like trying to see me or something. And
Hmm.
it seems like that's how it was. And I'm like, yeah, I understand. But the lawsuit also got really very descriptive that I was like, yeah, no, I'm getting out. Because like what we're hearing in media and like how you're mentioning right now, that's like just like the little bit, and then it's like very descriptive in the lawsuit that I'm like, yeah, no, I
Oh,
don't.
dang, I gotta read it. Okay, yeah, I got confirmation from this New York Times article. It was Blake's cut they used.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And then she got a producer credit. Yes, that probably annoyed him. And then she was like, I'm not doing any touring for media with them. And Colleen Hoover said the same.
yeah.
Yeah, that's intense. Yeah. Mhm.
That's crazy that the smear campaign really did work. I
Yeah.
thought,
They worked like you see the text, they like are surprised how well it worked.
Yeah. That's the part where I'm like, oh my God. And honestly, they're not showing a lot of like Justin's like actual communication. It's like the people they hired. And
Mhm.
but even then I'm like, you hired these people. This is what
Mhm.
you want. Oh God, who are you? Mm, yeah,
yeah.
These are the same people that were hired by Johnny Depp.
yeah.
That is a crazy documentary. Have you watched it about the case?
No.
It's
Is it on
interesting
Netflix?
because they put it like side by side, the Depp versus Heard,
Mm.
their lawsuit thing.
Yeah, there was a lot of people commenting on that. They're like, oh, is it going to be the same? And then there's the people who were believing him, and then the people believing her. And I'm like, I'm getting out. Bye. I've had enough content of this for today.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's crazy. Did not see any of this coming like this, but let's see how it turns out.
Yeah.
Okay, so bring a book, send a book. Um, with the new possibilities, new new year, new me. And
Sounds
then just
good.
read the rest of the book and we'll see what happens.
Okie dokie.
Have a good
Yeah,
night. Merry
I wonder how it's gonna
Christmas.
end.
I
All
know. Better be
right.
good.
Good night, ladies. See you next time.
Happy
Night.
holidays.
Happy holidays. Merry
holidays.
Christmas. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.